Hello friends, welcome to my channel Hiratakis. In this video, I am going to share 30 important .NET Core interview questions with answers. So those are preparing for the .NET Core interview, definitely this video going to be really helpful, okay? So our first question is, what is .NET Core and is it upgraded version of .NET Framework? So basically, this .NET Core is completely different from the .NET Framework. And this .NET Core is an open source framework for building modern high performance applications such as web, Windows, mobile, AOT and cloud-based applications. And it is developed by Microsoft, is managed under the .NET Foundation. Okay. And this .NET Core is written in C# and C++ and licensed under the MIT license. Okay. So the first version is .NET Core 1.0 and the latest version is 7.0. So in the short form, we can call it as .NET 7. Okay. And the next question is, what are the advantage of .NET Core? So the .NET Core is an open source. It is completely free of cost and it is provide the cross-platform support. So it can run under the Windows, Linux and Mac operating system. And the ASP.NET Core can handle more requests than ASP.NET. So it provides the better testability and it can be deployed in IaaS and also the cloud server. Okay. And the third question is, what are the features in .NET Core? So the first feature is built-in support for dependency injection, built-in support for the logging framework, and it can be extendable. So in case if you want to use some other library for the login, that also we can integrate. Introduce a new fast and cross-platform web server control. So a web application can run without IaaS and command line support to creating, building and running the application. Basically, if you are developing any .NET application, we will use the Visual Studio. The same for this .NET Core also we can use the Visual Studio. At the same time, we can deal everything through the command prompt also. Okay. And it has good support for asynchronous programming. So there is no web config file. We can store custom configuration into an app settings.json file, rate limiting and minimal API. So rate limiting means we can define how many requests our application is going to handle. So if it is reaching the limit, we can throw some of the error messages. So that is the concept. Similarly, in this minimal API, if you don't have much logic, we can write our API functionality within the program.cs file. These two features are available in the latest versions only. And the next question is, what is meta package? So the .NET Core 2.0 introduced meta package, which include all the supported package by ASP.NET Core with their dependencies into one package. It helps us to do fast development as we don't require to include the individual ASP.NET Core packages. Okay. And the assembly Microsoft.ASP.NET Core also a meta package provided by the ASP.NET Core. Okay, we can move on to the next question. Can ASP.NET Core application work with full .NET 4.x framework? Yes, ASP.NET Core application work with full .NET framework via .NET Standard Library. So the next question is, what is the startup class in ASP.NET Core? So the startup class is the entry point of ASP.NET Core application. This class contains the application configuration related items. So if you are using the lower version of .NET Core, we can see the startup file. So after .NET 6.0, this file is removed. So instead of that, what are the functionality we are doing in this startup class that also included in this program.cs file. So let me show you. Okay, this is one of the .NET 7 application. So there is no startup file. So we can see this only program.cs file. So in this program.cs file only, we have included all the changes. Okay. We can move on to the next question. What is the use of configure service method of the startup class? So here also the answer is same. The startup class is removed, but this configure service method, so it can be used to configure the services that are used by the application. Okay. So this method calls first when the application is requested for the first time. Using this method, we can add the services to the dependency injection container. So services are available as dependency into the controller constructor. So let me show you. So in this example, I'm having one interface and also the implementation class. So in these services, using this transient option, basically we have three types. We can see little later. I just registered. Okay. So hereafter, I can directly inject this interface in my controller constructor. So in order to, we can use in our application. Okay. We can move on to the next question. What is the use of configure method of the startup class? So again, the startup class is removed. The functionality of configure method is it defines how the application will respond to each HTTP request. We can configure the request pipeline by configuring the middleware. It accepts iApplication Builder as the parameter, and also it has two optional parameters, iHosting environment and iLogging factory. So using this method, we can configure built-in middleware such as routing, authentication, Json, etc. Okay, so let me show you. We enabled the cars, we enabled the authentication, authorization. So similarly, if you have any third-party functionality also, we can enable it here. And the next one is very important question. What is middleware? So middleware is the software that is injected into the application pipeline to handle the request and response. So they are just like sent to each other and forms the pipeline. The incoming requests are passed through the pipeline where all middleware is configured, and middleware can perform some actions on the request before passing it into the next middleware. Same as for the response, they are also passing through the middleware but reverse order. Okay. So if you want to see some of the examples, see. So these are the middlewares. Use core, use HTTP direction, and use authorization. So what are the order we have mentioned? In the same order only, it can be executed one by one. Okay. What is routing in ASP.NET Core? So routing is a functionality that map incoming requests to the route handler. The route can have values, extract them from the URL, so that are used to process the request. Using this routing can find the route handler based on the URL. All the routes are registered when the application is started. So in this ASP.NET Core, we have two types of routing. One is the conventional routing and another one is the attribute routing. So the conventional routing is the default one. We supposed to implement the global way. And the next one is attribute routing. So using this route attribute, we supposed to enable this attribute routing. Okay, let me show you. I'm taking one of the controller. We just defined API slash controller. Then our URL should be API slash and our controller name, that is the product. So after that, what are the functions? See, so if I am selecting this is the action method, my URL should be like this, API slash product slash upload image. Okay. So the same concept applicable for all the routes. Okay. So we can move on to the next question. How to enable session in ASP.NET Core? So the first step is we have to add use session in our middleware side. Okay. So this functionality is provided by this Microsoft.ASP.NET library, and this is the sample code. Okay. See. So services dot add session. At the end we have to include like app dot use session. So let me show you. So in this application we have a service side, right? Builder dot services. So the here we have to include like add session. After that, so in this builder side is supposed to include like app.use session. Okay. So the next question, what are the various types of JSON files available in this ASP.NET Core? So there are 6 types of JSON files available in this ASP.NET Core. So the first one is global.json. So that allows you to define which .NET SDK version is used when you run the .NET CLI commands. And the second one is launch settings.json. It describes how the application can be launched. And the third one is app settings.json. This is a very important one. So used to store the application configuration settings such as database connection string, any application scope, global variables, and some other valid informations also. Okay. And the fourth one is bundle config.json. This can control the minifying process. For the bundling and minification process, we supposed to use this JSON file. And the fifth one is browser.json, contains the browser information. And the final one is package.json. It contains the list of npm packages that our developer want to restore before the project starts. Okay, so we can move on to the next question. What are the common HTTP response in .NET Core API? So the first one is code 200. The action is OK. 201 created. 202 accepted. 204 no content. These are the success scenario. Then 400 it is a bad request. 401 unauthorized. 403 forbidden. 404 not found. 406 not acceptable. 423 locked. 500 internal server error. 501 not implemented. 502 bad gateway. And 503 service unavailable. How to achieve dependency injection in .NET Core API? So dependency injection is the inbuilt feature in .NET Core. So there are three ways we can register dependency injection to our services. So the first one is transient, then singleton, and the final one is scoped. Let me show in the code. So we can see this transient. The similar way we can use the add scoped and also the add singleton. All are having different lifetime. Let me tell you. So the first one is transient. It create an instance each time they are requested and never shared. It is used mainly for lightweight stateless services. And the second one is singleton. So this creates only single instance which are shared among all the components. So that requires it. And the third one is scoped. It create an instance once per scope which is created on every request to the application. Okay. So we can move on the next question. How to use entity framework in .NET Core? So entity framework is an object relational mapping. So already we have used in .NET framework also. For this .NET Core, they have introduced this entity framework core version. Okay. So there are three approaches: database first approach, code first approach, and the model first approach. So here we don't have any EDMX file. So using some command prompt, in case if you are following this database first approach, we have some scaffold command. So using that we can generate all the models from our database. So the similar way for the code first approach, we have to define our model. After executing the command, it will generate the database. Okay. So if you want more details regarding this entity framework core, I will share the link in this description. You can get the more information. Okay. What is AutoMapper? AutoMapper is a simple library that helps us to transform one object type into another. So let me show you an example. This is one of the AutoMapper handler. See, so this is my actual class, table customer. So this is my custom model. I just created as the customer model. Okay. So whatever data available in this object format, I need to convert this into customer model. So then I just added one of the configuration. So now I'm just converting. So here the problem is our source class and this destination class both are having same number of fields with the same name, then there is no problem. If both are having some mismatch, we have to use this for member. So for this scenario, I'm having this status name, okay, but I don't have this status name in my source side. So instead of that, I'm having this is active and also the data type also different. So this status name is the string and this is active as the boolean. So here I'm just checking some condition and assigning value into our status name. Okay. So this kind of logical changes also we can apply through our AutoMapper. Okay. So the next one is a familiar one. What is cars? How to enable in this .NET Core? So cars is nothing but an cross-origin resource sharing. So this is the security feature in browser for restricting cross-origin HTTP request. So if your REST API resources receives non-symbol cross-origin HTTP request, you need to enable the CAR support. For example, you have created one of the API. So that API need to be consumed. These two domains means we have to enable the cars for these two particular domains. Then only it can be accessible. Otherwise, they will get the cars error. For enabling the cars error, we can do it from our program.cs file. I just included this use cars, and first we need to define the cars. So there are two ways we can define the cars policy. One is providing the name. So here I just provided the name is cars policy 1. So this cross policy allows only one domain. Okay. So similarly we can add the default policy also. See here I just provided star. That means any of the domain can be access this application. So the next thing is which one we are going to use. So currently I just used use cars. So that means it will take the default one. So in case if I'm providing the policy name, then it will consider as the policy name. Okay. So the same way for enabling and disabling the cars, we can directly do in the controller side also using some of the attributes. So using this disable cars, we can completely disable the cars. And for the enabling, for the individual action methods, we can use this enable cars. And inside that, we have to provide the policy name. So in case if you not provide the policy, it will take the default policy. Okay. What is rate limiting? So rate limiting is a strategy for limiting the network traffic. So rate limiting can help us to stop the malicious bot activity. It can also reduce strain on the web servers. So the concept is very simple. So if you have an application, basically we can expect n number of requests. Okay. In such a time period, we may get more requests what we supposed to expect. Okay. So in that time, the server also may crash. For avoiding in that situation, the rate limiting concept is introduced. Just assume you have an application. So at the same time, 1000 people are accessing means there is no issue. If it is crossed the limit, so application may be crashed. So then we can define the rate limiting for the 1000. So until it is reaching the 1000, it's fine. If it is crossed more than 1000, so now obviously the particular user will get the some error message, but our application will work smoothly. It's not going to affect our server also. Okay. So in this code, for enabling the rate limiting also, we have a different ways. So first in this middleware, we have to enable like this, use rate limiter option, and we have to define this rate limiter also. Basically, we can add the rate limiter also in the four ways. I just use this option, fixed window limiter. See, provided the policy name, what are the time period allowed, the permit limit, the particular time period we are allowing just one request, at the queue limit. So in case if you get more than what we defined, we can keep in the queue, and the queue processing order older to first or the newer to first, so that we can set. So in case if you reach the threshold limit, what error code we supposed to show, so that also we can handle. Okay. So let me move on to the next question. What is authentication and authorization in .NET Core API? Authentication is the process of validating user identity. Authorization is the process of providing permission to the access resource. Authentication is used to protect our application data from unauthorized access. So this is the default concept only. What is basic authentication? So in this basic authentication, for the every request, user supposed to send the credential with a base64 format. So the first thing is system will check the credentials. If everything is fine, it will allow to access our resources. But this approach is very less security. Next, what is JWT authentication? So this is one of the popular method used in the .NET Core Web API. So the concept is very simple. So if you want access any of the resource, the first thing is we have to generate the token. Okay, the token is nothing but an JWT, JSON Web Tokens. So in this token have some expiration time, okay, and what are the additional information needed that we can store in these claims. So once you have the token, while accessing our resources, make sure you have to pass the token also. So the system first validate the token whether it is valid or not. If it is valid based on the access level, it will return the data. Okay. And the next one is what is refresh token? So refresh token also is the concept of JWT token. So as I mentioned, when we are creating the token, we will supposed to send the expiration time. For example, if I'm set to the expiration time is 15 minutes, okay? So when I'm logged in the application, the token is created. I'm continuously using the application. So I'm an active user. After reaching the 15 minutes, the token will be expired, okay? But the thing is, so after 15 minutes, the token will be expired. So you just assume if I'm trying to make one of the order, the token is expired means I is supposed to log in once again. So then only I will get the latest token. So avoiding that, we are introduced this refresh token logic. So using this refresh token concept, what are the claim information that we can get it from the expired token itself? So we are resending the same claim information. So using that claim information, generating one new token with a new expiration time. So using the new token, we can continuously access our session. So that's all about the refresh token logic. And the next question is what is minimal API? Minimal APIs are architecture to create the HTTP APIs with minimal dependencies. So they are ideal for microservices and apps that want to include only minimum files, features, and dependencies in this ASP.NET Core. It is introduced in .NET 6.0. So in this latest version also it is available. So in case if you have the lower version, you cannot access this functionality. So let me show you one of the example. So these are the minimal API concept. It's very basic get method. It is returning some value. And the next example, we are passing some parameters. And the third example, we are directly accessing our database using this entity framework concept. And we did the complete CRUD actions. The same way we can do the file upload functionality also. Now the next question is, how do you implement security in .NET Core web application? So first one is authentication and authorization. So already we seen we can use the basic authentication, JWT token authentication. Similarly, we have some other options also. And the second one is HTTPS. You can use the built-in Microsoft ASP.NET Core server custodial package to configure your application use HTTPS. And third one is CARS, cross-origin resource sharing, cross-site request forgery, CSRF. SQL injection, you can use the built-in Microsoft Entity Framework Core package to implement the parameterized query to prevent SQL injection attacks. And the final one is cross-site scripting. You can use the built-in Microsoft.ASP.NETCore.MVC view features package to implement encoding and validating excess attacks. Okay, so we can move on to the next question. Can you explain the difference between synchronous and asynchronous method in .NET Core? So in this .NET Core, asynchronous method is a method that runs to completion before returning control to the calling code. Synchronous methods block the execution of the calling thread until they are finished. How do you implement exception handling in .NET Core application? So in this .NET Core application, exception handling implemented using try-catch blocks or using some global exception handler. How do you implement unit testing in .NET Core application? So in this .NET Core application, you can use various testing frameworks such as MS Test, XUnit, and NUnit to write and run the unit test. Okay. Next one. Can you explain the concept of identity in .NET Core? Identity is a feature of ASP.NET Core that provides a way to handle authentication and authorization for web application. It allows you to easily add support for user registration, login, and password management to your application. So in .NET Core, identity is implemented using the identity library, which provides set of classes and interfaces for handling user identities and roles. And the next question is, how do you implement caching in .NET Core application? Caching is the technique for improving the performance of web application by storing frequently used data in memory so it can be quickly retrieved without having to be recalculated or fetched from the database. So in .NET Core, there are several caching options available such as in-memory caching, distributed caching, and response caching. Can you explain the concept of SignalR in .NET Core? SignalR is a real-time communication library for ASP.NET Core that allows you to easily add real-time functionality to your web application. It enables bi-directional communication between the client and servers, allowing the servers to push the updates to the client in real time. SignalR uses variety of underlying technologies to provide the real-time communications, including WebSockets, servers and events, and long pooling. It automatically chooses the best transport based on the client capabilities and the network conditions. How do you implement background tasks in .NET Core application? Background tasks are way to run long-running or scheduled operations in .NET Core applications without blocking the main thread. So this allows the application to continue processing requests while the background task is running. So in .NET Core, background tasks can be implemented using this I-hosted service interface, which allows you to create the service that runs in background when the application starts. And the next question is, what is Serilog and how to use in .NET Core application? Serilog is a third-party library for enable the log in our application. So if you want to know more details about Serilog and how to use in our application, I have created the separate video. You can see the video in the description link. Okay. So now we are in the end of the video. We have covered 34 important questions with the answers. And if you are looking for the separate video for any of the concept, please let me know in the comment. I will create the separate video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.